Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone, and today we're doing another episode of Hot Takes. It's been a long time since I've done one of these. There is absolutely nothing happening in the NBA offseason right now, so I went to Twitter and asked for some of your hottest takes for the upcoming season or about just the NBA basketball in general. I picked out, I think, 8 or so, and I want to talk about them, give you my opinions, and as always, would love to hear some of your own hot takes down below in the description. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter if you want to have the chance to potentially be in one of these videos in the future. But for now, let's go ahead and get to y'all's hot takes. First one comes from James, who says that the Clippers are within the top 3 of contenders in the entire NBA West and East. Now, I want to make a full video on the Clippers at some points this summer, so I won't get too much into them, but I don't agree. I do think they have the chance to push themselves into contender status, but I'm not there with them yet. If you ask me, I think they're about 4 to 5 contenders in the NBA right now, and I think they're like my first team that doesn't quite make the cut. Now, don't get me wrong, they're very talented, whether it's the star power of Harden and Kawhi Leonard or the depth. They're one of the deepest teams in the NBA. They're extremely talented on both sides and well coached. They almost won a series last year with Kawhi Leonard hardly playing half the season. If they can stay healthy and don't face a lot of regression from their very old roster, then yeah, this is one of the best teams in the NBA. But I just can't wrap my head around fully a team as old as them finding a way to win the championship. And I'm also not sure at this point if Kawhi can be the number one option offensively for a team to win a championship when you're going up against like Shea as the Thunder's one option, or Jokic for the Nuggets, or Kevin Durant for the Rockets. Even if you play the Lakers, I do think the Clippers are better than the Lakers, but like Luka and LeBron James, and you've got Anthony Edwards for the Timberwolves. I also worry about Harden dropping off in the playoffs. Like on paper, it is one of the most talented rosters, but to me, I'm a little bit more limited on who I consider a true contender, especially in this deep Western Conference. I just don't think the Clippers are quite there. They're on the cusp. They can convince me, but I'm not convinced yet. Next one is from Lucas, who says that the Spurs will be a top 4 seed. I've been trying to think about who my jump team in the NBA this season is going to be. Honestly, I'm not sure if there will be one, specifically out west, out east. Like I think the Magic can take a leap, or maybe the Pistons put together a little bit more, or a team like the Raptors really get it going, or the Hawks. Like there are a lot of squads that could jump up over there, but out west, I'm just not really sure there is going to be a team. I am into this Spurs squad. I think the playoffs is definitely not out of the question with the talent of Wemby, having Fox there for a full season, if the young guys continue to progress the way that it seems like they can. But I just can't say top 4. I just can't get there quite yet. I feel like they need that intermediate season like the Rockets had, where they weren't very good, but then they were pretty close. It's like, hey, they just barely missed out on the play-in, and then they took the leap. The Spurs haven't had that middle ground, and I think they'll be, right around a 500 team this season if I had to guess, but I think it's going to take better than that to make it into the playoffs, and especially to get in the top 4 in this West. I think all those teams could have like 54 wins. Speaking of Wemby, we've got one from Midwest who says that Paolo Banchero is better and will always be better than Wemby. Not true now, not true going forward. Wemby's ceiling, just because of the size, is a lot higher than Paolo's. And don't get me wrong, I'm a believer in Paolo. I think his ceiling is really high. I feel like a lot of people who are kind of out on Paolo Banchero at the moment. I think he's a phenomenal player, not selling any of my stock in Paolo. But Wemby is a far, far, far better defensive player. He's going to go down as one of the best defensive players ever, and I think offensively could be pretty close to Paolo throughout his career. I just don't think the defensive gap is going to be at all crossed by the offensive advantage that Paolo might have. And honestly, at this point, like, I think Wemby is pretty close to Paolo offensively when you think about the way that Wemby was able to shoot, just the height that he has down low. He's unguardable at the rim. His ability to just catch a lob or just really tower over anybody and put the ball in the basket by standing on his tiptoes. I can't wrap my head around that. If you think injuries are going to play a factor into Wemby's career, then maybe, but Wemby's better now, and Wemby, I think, is going to be better for the entirety of their careers. Nothing against Paolo. He's just going up against someone who I think has the chance to wind up as maybe the greatest to ever play the game. Next one is from Martin, who says that the Sixers with a healthy Embiid are the best team in the Eastern Conference. I can't say best team, but I am buying a little bit into the Philadelphia 76ers. I'm optimistic. What can I say? I still believe that Embiid has all NBA play in him. I don't know if we ever see MVP Embiid, the guy that was out there averaging like 34 a night before injury a couple seasons ago again. But I do think that Jared McCain is going to have a great sophomore season. Maxi's still really good. I anticipated Paul George bounce back. I just can't picture him being as bad as he was last year again. I think VJ Edgecombe was a good pickup. I think they've got a nice mix of youth, but also older guys. The health is a big concern. Like, they've got to be entirely healthy if they want to compete at all in this Eastern Conference. But if you get Embiid for like 60-ish games, which is a big ask, and a bounce back from Paul George, it's going to take a lot to go right. But if you get that, then I think they definitely could be a 4-3 seed in this Eastern Conference and going into the playoffs, one of the formidable teams. I think there is an outcome, even if it's like the 1% of 1% outcomes, that the Sixers stay entirely healthy and they find a way to the conference finals, even the NBA finals. If Embiid fully bounces back, I don't think it's going to happen, but it's not impossible. Now we've got one from Jordan, who says that the Thunder are going to break the win record in a season. Won 68 games last year. Chet missed 50 games. Ihart missed the first couple months of the season. Coming off a championship, they'll go 74-8. I do think if they stay fully healthy, they had a chance to break it this past season. I do think there is like a chance this year, but I think the Thunder coming off a championship, I just don't know if the Thunder are really going to gun for it quite that way. I could see Shea resting some games here and there. He's going to play enough to try and win another MVP, but I could see like Caruso being load managed like he was a little bit last season, or Chet coming off of that injury, and he's had a couple of freak injuries, maybe giving him a little bit of rest throughout the season, or Jalen Williams. I just feel like this Thunder team is now going to prioritize a little bit more gunning for a second straight championship as opposed to the record. I do still think the Thunder are going to win like 65 games, even if guys rest, because it's that stacked of a team. But I think maybe last year was the chance to win that. If they win 70, like, I'm not shocked. They had a chance, again, to do it this year while being legitimately injured at multiple points throughout the year. But I think last year might have been the best opportunity to do so. You know, this young, hungry team that still had a lot to prove. Way says that the Raptors are going to finish as a top 5 team in the East, and they'll face the Cavs in the first round. Probably the craziest part of this take to me is the Cavs being a 4 seed. I think there's no world where the Cavs are any lower than a 1 or a 2, especially if they're healthy. If they face injuries, then sure, but I feel very confident that the Cavs are again going to be the 1 seed, at bare minimum 2. So that's honestly the crazier part of the take. I don't think the Raptors are going to be a top 5 team. Like, that just doesn't feel super realistic. I have big question marks about the shooting of that team, the roster construction, the cohesiveness, because this group of guys have hardly played together. In fact, with Brandon Ingram, they've never played together. So going into the season, there's just a lot for them to figure out. I could see them being pretty decent and maybe being a playoff team in this Eastern Conference, but I can't see them being top 5 worthy. They're not going to be better than the Cavs, the Knicks, the Magic. The Hawks, I believe, are better. The Pistons, I would take over them. I'm missing a team. I know I'm missing a team. Cavs, Knicks, Pistons, Magic, somebody else. I just can't see them being top 5. Sticking out East, crossover thinks Bucks are going to make the conference finals. I've seen this take from a couple of people. I just can't wrap my head around that. Unless you think Giannis is going to 2018 LeBron it, then there's no way. This just isn't a very good roster. Like, I've seen some people start to buy into Bucks hype a little bit. I am nowhere near there. I don't think this is a very good team. I think Giannis could lead the league in scoring and make a little bit of an MVP case a la Russell Westbrook 2017. But I just can't see them being anything more than, like, at best a 4 seed. I think it's much more realistic. They are a 5 to a 7 if I had to go and project. I just don't think the guard room is great. Like, who's the second best player, the second option more so on this roster? Is it Miles Turner? That doesn't make me feel great. Is it Kyle Kuzma? That makes me feel worse. They just don't really have the depth or the talent on either side of the ball the way that other teams do. Really, the crowning thing for them is just the fact that they have Giannis, but in today's NBA where depth matters more than ever and teams are deeper, there are a lot of really good, deep teams in that Eastern Conference. I just can't see them making that type of run. Even if they get into the playoffs and they pull off some type of upset in the first round, I don't think they can beat Cleveland. I don't think they can beat New York. I would have the Magic over them. I'd have the Hawks over them. That's 4 teams right there. Jake says that Evan Mobley will be a consensus top 8 player in the NBA next season and will be regarded in the same tier as Victor Wembanyama. I don't know if I can say same tier as Wemby, just because I think Wemby's also going to take a massive jump. I expect Wemby to be kind of a consensus top 5 guy himself this season, if not maybe even higher than that. but I do think Evan Mobley is in for a jump. I'm a big Evan Mobley believer. You're not going to catch me out saying that I don't believe in Evan Mobley or that I'm low on him or anything, because it's the exact opposite. I have been one of his biggest believers ever since he headed into the draft. He was my favorite prospect in that draft. And he's a monster. He just won Defensive Player of the Year. He got a lot better offensively. And I think this season, especially on that offensive end, there's another jump for him. I think he's going to average over 20 points per game. I think they're going to feature him a lot more heavily. And I do think he will repeat as an all-NBA player. And if the Cavaliers want to go ahead and actually win a championship this year, they're going to need a lot more of him. So I agree. I do think Mobley is going to take a jump. I think he could push himself into top 10 conversations, but I can't say he's going to be on the same tier as Wemby, who I expect to be more so top 5. And I think there is a big difference when you get to like that top peak of the NBA between like the top 5-ish guys right now. Really, I think the top 3 are kind of in a league of their own, but between like the top 5 and top 8, there is a gap there. And finally, the last take comes from Anthony, who says that Chet Holmgren scores 24 points per game and emerges as a top 10 player in the NBA. I don't think Chet's going to put up 24 a night, but I do think 20 a game is very realistic for him. He was right around that before the hip injury affected him last season. I do think he's going to prove a lot of people wrong this year. I think he might be one of the most underrated players in the entire sport at this moment. I tweeted out calling him a top 5 big a couple days ago, and some people agreed. Some people said, I'd have him more like 6 or 7, but there were a number of people who just thought I was crazy for even saying that that's a thing. As one of the best rim protectors in the entire world, as the guy who was the best defender in all of the playoffs last year, who is someone who was just unbelievable offensively before the injury and definitely took a step back once he returned. But I anticipate now with a full offseason to recuperate, get back to that type of rhythm, is going to have an offensive explosion next year relative to what we've already seen. He's already one of the best defenders. He's going to be a massively improved offensive player and a stretch big that can do the stuff that he can with the ball in his hands and down low defensively. That is a player who is very capable of someday being top 10. I'm not sure if he's going to get there next season, but I think someday it's very attainable. I just can't get quite to 24 because of, how much Shea scores, and J-Dub I think could take a step forward, and a lot of the other young guys. I think Chet's going to settle right around like that 19-20 spot, but I do agree that he's going to showcase that a lot of people are wrong about him and very much underrating him at this moment. And with all that being said, those are my thoughts on your hot takes. Again, I'd love to hear some of yours down below in the comments. I'm starting to get to the point where I'm trying to flesh out some of my predictions going into next season. We do still have a lot of time to kill until we get to the 2026 season. We've got still over 2 months. It feels like it should be closer than that. So if you have any topics, any teams that you want to hear me go ahead and talk about, let me know down below in the comments. Any video ideas. I do have this idea to do like rankings of players. Like I thought about ranking LeBron's best seasons, so maybe I'll do something like that. I kind of want to do a Chris Paul video because I think he's just one of the most underrated players ever from some of the stuff I've been seeing. But like if you have any historic players or teams or stories in the NBA you want to hear me talk about, let me know here in the comments and I'll try to hit some of those. But yeah, leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. Appreciate y'all watching. I'll see y'all later. Real one, say it back.